when William becomes king, he will be very much more modern, and I think he'll be much more the people's king.
Or even better, showed me what it meant to have both privilege and responsibilities.
The first time Camilla met Prince William, she shook like a leaf and needed a gin and tonic just to survive the encounter. And now, that nightmare could be coming back. Camilla is terrified, and this time, it's about what William will do the second he becomes king. What kind of king is William going to be? And what does he have in store for Camilla? Join us as we dive into what royal insiders have uncovered about William's plan for Camilla the second he becomes king, and why she's terrified like never before. A new era. It was right before the whole world on September 8, 2022, that a great moment of change happened when Queen Elizabeth II passed away at Balmoral Castle. After 70 years and 214 days on the throne, she lived longer than any British monarch, and when she passed away, a new chapter began with her son, King Charles III. From the moment he ascended the throne, King Charles showed that his reign would not simply mirror his mother's. As we all know, Queen Elizabeth was very reserved, but Charles has always been a man of strong opinions, even when the world stood against them. From the very beginning, starting with his coronation on May 6, 2023, at Westminster Abbey, it was clear that Charles was not going to give us the same monarchy we were used to. He deliberately reduced the ceremony's pageantry. Instead of the 3-hour coronation seen in his mother's 1953 ceremony,
Sir, I here present unto you Queen Elizabeth, your undoubted queen.
his service lasted just 2 hours. He reduced the guest list from about 8,000 to 2,200 and invited faith leaders from different religions, such as Hindu, Muslim, and Jewish, to play active roles. For the first time, female bishops of the Church of England participated, and attendees were encouraged to wear day dresses rather than traditional ceremonial robes. From that moment, it was clear that something different had come upon the British monarchy. Charles also approached his role differently in terms of advocacy. Even as prince, he had long supported causes like organic farming and climate change, issues for which he was often mocked. However, upon becoming king, he made it clear these causes truly mattered to him. For example, the coronation screen was embroidered with 56 species of trees and birds representing the Commonwealth. He chose to use the Diamond Jubilee State Coach, which featured modern elements like electric windows and air conditioning. He also delivered speeches urging action on climate change, despite the risk of being perceived as politically involved. Another area where Charles stood firm was in handling family matters. Before becoming king, he had supported the decision to strip Prince Andrew of his military affiliations following his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Months after becoming king, he confirmed that Andrew would no longer use the title His Royal Highness in any official capacity. In February 2024, he also approved the removal of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from prominent placement on the official royal family website, relegating them among other members, regardless of how that decision might be received. Now, just a few years into his reign, attention has once again begun to shift toward the future. On February 5, 2024, Buckingham Palace announced that the king had been diagnosed with an undisclosed form of cancer during treatment for an enlarged prostate at the London clinic. He began regular treatments and postponed several public duties. While there was initial optimism, it appears his illness has persisted. As a result, the palace has increasingly focused on what comes next: the succession of Prince William. In many ways, Prince William has already begun stepping up. In 2024 alone, following his father's diagnosis, he carried out over 150 official engagements, covering for the king at events such as the Order of the Garter ceremony at Windsor Castle and the Royal Windsor Horse Show. In November 2024, for the first time in modern constitutional history, he represented his father at the state opening of Parliament, delivering the king's speech on his behalf. So far, we have an idea of the kind of Prince William is: dedicated and family-oriented. But the real question is, what kind of king will he be? The prince's vision. As the eldest son of the king, Prince William has always known what his fate would be. From his first breath, he was second in line to the throne, and he grew up understanding that one day, perhaps later in life, he would become the monarch. But now, with his father's health in question, that day might arrive much earlier than anyone assumed. Despite this reality, William seems ready. This readiness does not come without a cost. Those who are close to the prince have described him as a man who has shown loneliness and grief for most of his life. The death of his mother, Diana, broke him at age 15. That loss is the reason why William has organized campaigns like Heads Together, trying to normalize conversations about emotional pain that the royal family usually keeps private. And then the rift with his brother. For most of their lives, Prince Harry was William's closest ally, the only person who understood the kind of life they shared as children. But after Harry stepped back from royal duties, their relationship went sour, especially when Harry released his memoir, which contained public revelations. Despite it all, losing his brother's presence has meant that William has carried the burden that was once shared, all on his own. And now, he relies on a very tight inner circle that includes his wife, Catherine. The lovebirds met at the University of St. Andrews, and Catherine's middle-class upbringing gave William a perspective on ordinary life. It helped him become more empathetic and made him believe that the monarchy should be accessible to the public. Together, they have built a family life that contrasts with the kind found in past generations. For years now, William has been outlining his vision and the kind of king he would like to be. Firstly, he believes that royal work should be judged by results and not by appearance. That is why, instead of cutting ribbons, he is more invested in projects that solve real problems, like the Earthshot Prize. The Earthshot Prize offers 5 £1 million prizes annually to innovators, and it will run until 2030. It has already funded real-world solutions, such as solar-powered cold storage in Kenya and seaweed-based packaging. He also supports his father's goal of reducing the number of working royals, but he wants to go even further. He has said that he would like to limit publicly funded royals to no more than 8 senior members, and he also wants to open up royal residences in unprecedented ways. Another thing is that William has pushed for the monarchy to be more open. He wants transparency, and he wants the public to know exactly what is happening. He wants people to see the institution as a public service rather than a private club. When the time comes, William intends to be a king who listens more than he speaks, who judges success by outcomes, and who never forgets the losses that made him human, even when some of those losses come from people very close to him. When William becomes king, a few people's titles and status will definitely change, for example, Queen Camilla's. But how did she even arrive at the position she currently holds? A reluctant queen, dowager-in-waiting. At the time Camilla married Charles, public sentiment was deeply hostile towards her. In fact, there was a BBC poll that showed that 73% of the public believed that she should never become queen. Diana had died less than 8 years earlier, and many people saw Camilla as the third party that destroyed Charles and Diana's marriage and even led to Diana's tragic death. To reduce the controversy against the marriage, Clarence House issued a carefully worded statement. It said, "It is intended that Mrs. Parker Bowles should use the title HRH, the Princess Consort, when the Prince of Wales ascends to the throne. That simply means that even when Prince Charles became king, Camilla was to remain Princess Consort instead of Queen Consort." And for over 17 years, that was Camilla's position. She accepted the downgrade, believing that with time, people would start to accept her. But then, Camilla soon started transforming in the eyes of the public from the other woman to a very respected royal. It didn't happen by accident. In the early 2000s, she hired a private PR advisor, Mark Bolland, who orchestrated a campaign to soften her image to the public. They started to create carefully staged appearances. She would be seen doing ordinary activities like baking, chatting with local shopkeepers, laughing with kids, and so on, all to replace people's image of her with that of a warm, down-to-earth woman. Honestly, that really worked. By 2015, 40% of the public started viewing her favorably, and by 2022, that number increased to 52% favorability. The fact that she could carry out hundreds of engagements without complaining, and the way she doted on Charles, gradually won people over. But she was still not content with the title she was given and kept on pestering Charles to do something about it. But there was nothing Charles could do because his mother was the one who made that statement, until early 2022, when Prince Andrew's scandal came to pass. The family was in a lot of crisis, and Andrew needed a lot of money that Queen Elizabeth had to give him from her own personal pocket. Now, the money she gave him was supposed to belong to King Charles after she was gone, and because of that, Charles saw that as an opportunity. According to royal biographers Robert Hardman and Giles Brandreth, Charles went to meet his mother, seeking public support to secure Camilla's future as queen consort. He claimed that the monarchy needed stability and that elevating her would reward her years of loyal service. Queen Elizabeth II was left without a choice, and so, as part of her Platinum Jubilee message marking 70 years on the throne, she issued a statement that changed everything. She wrote, "When, in the fullness of time, my son Charles becomes king, I know you will give him and his wife Camilla the same support you have given me. And it is my sincere wish that, when that time comes, Camilla will be known as queen consort as she continues her own loyal service." The announcement was groundbreaking, and many people believed that the queen had finally accepted and blessed Camilla as her son's wife and the next queen consort. But it's only been a few years of Camilla holding that title, and it seems like it could still slip out of her hand. Because when William ascends the throne, she can no longer be queen consort, as that title would belong to his wife. She would then become queen dowager, which is the formal designation for the widow of a king. Now, this is not William's choice, it is what has always been in the Constitution. For instance, when King George VI died, his widow, Queen Elizabeth, became known as Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, just to distinguish her from her daughter, who became the new Queen Elizabeth II. Normally, if Camilla were William's mother, he could still reserve some roles for her, active roles she could continue to carry out, to keep her involved and maintain her public position. But with the kind of bond, or in this case, lack of one, that they share, is it possible that William would grant her any additional honor or help her maintain a public profile? The fate of the queen consort. One of the very important things that the public wonders about concerning Queen Camilla's life after being queen is where she would live. For years now, she has been staying in Clarence House, which is the 4-story mansion attached to St. James's Palace. She moved there in 2003, and she personally oversaw the renovations. But when William becomes king, Clarence House would no longer be hers. It would be taken over for public official use, maybe by William, by Catherine, or even as a public building. Camilla is not so pleased about this. She sees it as a signal that she's being erased from the royal landscape. This is weird because even Camilla has said that she loved Raymill House in Lacock, Wiltshire. It's a 6-bedroom Grade 2 listed property that she bought in 1996 for £850,000 after her divorce from Andrew Parker Bowles. For decades, it's been her escape, but now that she is going to be sent there, it feels like exile. It feels like she's being forced to leave everything in London while Catherine takes over. About Catherine, there's been a sort of transfer of responsibilities from Camilla to her over the past year. In May 2024, Buckingham Palace announced that Camilla would hand over the patronage of the Royal National Theatre to Catherine, a role that Camilla has held since 2006. Although they say that it is a gradual transition to the next generation so that it won't all be forced upon them when they become monarchs, sources say Camilla was not given any choice, and the decision was made by William's office and presented as a fait accompli. That's not the only thing that has been slowly taken away from her. In September 2024, Camilla's role as president of the Royal Voluntary Service, a position she has held since 2015, was downgraded, with Catherine assuming co-presidency for key events. It was also announced in January 2025 that Catherine would take over Camilla's role as patron of the Royal Academy of Dance, another charity that Camilla has supported for over a decade. It's not unreal that Camilla is not so happy about this. She had been waiting for years to become queen, and when she finally got that, not even up to 5 years after, so many duties were being relegated to her stepdaughter-in-law. She feels hurt that while Charles is still on the throne, so many of these things are happening, and she's scared for her future when her husband is no longer on the throne to fight for her. Catherine, on the other hand, has been a phenomenal future queen consort. She has been doing so much for the monarchy, accompanying her husband to several state openings that should have been attended to by Camilla. In fact, Catherine is the first Princess of Wales in over a century to have held the title while the heir is in the direct line to become queen consort in the foreseeable future. The monarchy has presented Catherine as a much better queen, and all the hard work that Camilla has done in changing her image has been a waste. Yes, it is frustrating for Camilla, but why is she surprised, especially based on the kind of relationship she and William have always had? A complicated history. Prince William and Queen Camilla's relationship has been one of the most closely watched dynamics within the royal family. From when he was just a child, he has always known that Camilla was the one person causing his mom so much pain. Diana, Princess of Wales, famously told BBC journalist Martin Bashir that there were 3 of them in the marriage, and that third person was Camilla Parker Bowles. But how did Camilla even get into the picture? So in 1970, Charles and Camilla met, but then, due to some reasons, especially because Charles was serving in the Royal Navy, Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles in 1973. But just 5 years after Charles married Diana, he rekindled his affair with Camilla. For William, who was just 4 years old when the affair resumed, Camilla was the one who shattered his parents' marriage. And according to Diana, the affair didn't even just start in 1986. Right from their wedding day, she had known that her husband had married her just because of what his father told him, while his heart had always belonged to Camilla. The first time William met Camilla formally was in 1998, a year after Diana's passing away. He was just 17 years old at the time and was back from Eton College for the weekend at Clarence House. The meeting was intense. Christopher Anderson, who authored The King, The Life of Charles III, told US Weekly that Camilla was terrified. She was shaking like a leaf, and as soon as William left, she said she needed a gin and tonic. But whatever reaction that William showed is understandable. He was still grieving his mother and was being introduced to the woman who had potentially led to the passing away of his mother. That's tough. And even after his father married Camilla in 2005, the relationship had remained hard. In the years after her marriage to Prince Charles, Camilla would tell her family and close friends how surprised she was whenever she discovered the unexpected side to Prince William. In fact, she was always terrified at the ranting and raving that on occasion William had unleashed against Charles in her presence. Interestingly, Prince Harry, who has since become far more critical of Camilla, initially defended her. Shortly after the wedding, he rejected the image of her as a wicked stepmother, described her as a very wonderful woman who made their father very happy, and claimed that he and his brother loved her to bits. But then when he released his memoir, Spare, he described her in far less flattering terms, which shows that the relationship had changed over time. Another thing that captured public attention was the coronation of King Charles III. This coronation ceremony caused a lot of issues between the two parties who already had issues with each other. So when invites were sent to attendees, only 4 members of Catherine's family were allowed to attend, while over 20 members of Camilla's family were invited to the ceremony. Then, when it was time for William and Catherine to curtsy and bow before the newly crowned king and queen, only Catherine curtsied to both Charles and Camilla, while William bowed only to his father before returning to his seat. William would never make such a mistake. He is so deep in royal precedence that everyone knew it was an intentional snub. Another way to know that there's a distance between the two of them is the way he had positioned her within his nuclear family. William had made it clear that Camilla is just the wife of his father, but not a step-grandmother to his children. The kids only know that they have 2 grandfathers, one from their father's side, one from their mother's side, and only one grandmother, which is their mother's mom. Also, Camilla hasn't really tried to take up that role. She is more invested in her children, especially since Catherine's parents are very close to the family. So, where does she stand today? Christopher Anderson still maintains that William just tolerates Camilla rather than genuinely accepting her. And if that's really the case, then Camilla is rightfully bothered about where her stance is after her husband's passing away, because she would be in William's hands. But other insiders say that ever since Prince Harry departed from royal duties, Camilla and William have grown closer. They don't want any extra drama based on everything that has happened with Meghan and Harry. And if that's true, maybe they would be able to accommodate her and let her keep her public persona even after her husband's passing away. No one knows for sure what happens next, but Camilla is not the only one who is going to be affected by the impending transition. What is going to become the fate of the other members of the family, those that are actually involved in William's life and those that William has spoken against in the past? The ripple effects. When Prince William becomes king, the entire structure of the monarchy will shift. Let's start with Catherine. It is already known that when William ascends the throne, Catherine will automatically become queen consort. Even though her role has already started expanding, it will expand further. She would start accompanying William on state visits, host foreign dignitaries, and she would assume a larger share of solo engagements. She's already being treated by palace communication as the monarchy's most popular figure. As for their kids, their lives would change slowly, but eventually very significantly. Prince George, who is their eldest child, would become the heir apparent once his father takes the throne. As he enters adulthood, he will start to take on more public-facing duties. Princess Charlotte, the second daughter, would hold the title of Princess Royal or some other traditional title when she becomes older. Although there has been no formal announcement, we would assume her role would mirror that of Princess Anne, where she would support the monarch without having to carry the full weight of the heir's duties. The same would go for Prince Louis, the last child, who would likely hold the title of Duke of York when he becomes older. But for now, they are being raised with an emphasis on a relatively normal childhood, as William has made it very clear that he wants to protect his children's privacy, so they have as normal a life as possible, unlike the kind of life he had, which was full of paparazzi. Now, concerning William's brother, Prince Harry, it doesn't look like the rift between them is healing anytime soon, and once William becomes king, he might formalize the separation. Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in March 2020 and moved to California. They no longer carry out any official engagements on behalf of the crown. In February 2024, their names were officially moved to the bottom of the royal family's official page, and their titles, His or Her Royal Highness, were stripped off. Their kids, Archie and Lilibet, do not currently use prince or princess titles, although they are technically entitled under the law. But when it comes to formal royal titles or publicly funded roles, William is unlikely to extend those to the kids. As for the wider royal family, Princess Anne, the current Princess Royal, and Prince Edward, who is the Duke of Edinburgh, are expected to remain working royals. They have long proven their loyalty, especially Anne, who has been one of the hardest working royals, carrying out over 200 engagements in 2024. Edward and his wife, Sophie, have also taken up an increasing portfolio since the Queen's passing away and since Prince Andrew was stripped of his titles. Talking about Prince Andrew, he doesn't have any public role anymore, even though he has settled the civil sexual assault lawsuit. And in fact, he has been moved away from Royal Lodge, though he still lives there on a private lease arrangement. As for his daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, they are not working royals. They hold no official roles, and that is unlikely to change under William. All of these changes are to create a slimmed-down monarchy as envisaged by King Charles and hoped for by Prince William. With a smaller core of working royals, public money will be better used, which is a priority for William, and there will be greater transparency in royal finances. For example, in 2023, William pushed for the annual royal accounts to be published in a plain language format for the first time, so that everybody could actually understand how the money was being spent by category and by individual royal. This slimmed-down monarchy is supported by the public, as about 58% of Britons believe that the monarchy should have fewer working members than it does currently. When William becomes king, we can rest assured that the monarchy will complete a generational transition that began with his grandmother's passing. His vision would define the institution for decades to come, and those who surround him would be people he truly trusts to carry that vision forward. Based on history, do you think Camilla's fears are justified, or is she overthinking it? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.